I was a single mother of two daughters when I met my husband in 1992. I knew I was a goner when I looked up into his handsome face. Now, that heart knowledge was sorely tested a few hours later when I saw the car he drove. It was a 1985 Chevette hatchback. It was small and round and the color of dirt. Now, I had never been particularly materialistic, but this was a Chevette for crying out loud. But still, I really was into this guy, so I just thought someday I'll be able to talk him into buying something better. Well, I have fallen in love with him. I'm still in love with him. But I learned in the first year or so that my husband was kind and good and hardworking and a stubborn man. If he makes up his mind about something, he's not changing it for anyone or anything. And he was not going to get rid of the Chevette. It would cost him $1,300. It was a perfectly good car. It was economical, and he could haul up to 12 feet of wood in it if he just took all the seats out except for the driver's seat, which was fine with us because my daughters and I were not going to ride in that car. So finally, in 1995, Katie was turning 15 and going to need a car. And I seized upon that opportunity. I said, I'll get a new family car. You can drive the Honda, Perry, and Katie can drive the Chevette. Well, Katie had other ideas. Katie was my mother's curse on me. She was rebellious and smart-mouthed, just like I was. And she was not going to drive that car. She said no way, no how was she going to drive the shitmobile. And I said, Katie, I don't care how many times you have heard me say that word. You cannot call this car the shitmobile. She said, Mama, it looks like a little turd going down the road. I said, be that as it may, you'll have to think of something different. And something different was worse. That car became the Dooky Mobile. The Dooky Mobile. I was horrified. So we started remodeling our home, and I said, Perry, don't you want a truck, He's like, no, I can haul all the wood I need in this car. So I tried the safety angle. Perry, if you get in a wreck in this car, as small as it is, you're going to be toast. He proved me wrong on that, too. He was driving home from work one day in the rain. The guys from work were behind him in the truck, and he hit a slick spot on the road, and the car started spinning, and the guys watched this little brown tornado just spinning off the road right past the guardrail, down the embankment, where it slid to a stop underneath the bridge. Not a scratch on it or Perry. They pulled it out of the ditch with the truck. So fast forward a few years, Perry finally bought a truck. But he still drove the Chevette because it was economical. And then in 2002, I got a new family car. Perry started driving my Lumina, and even he acknowledged that we could not keep all these vehicles and keep tagging them. So he offered to give the Chevette to Katie and Bobby. Bobby was who she was married to by then. And so Bobby was happy to get it. And so was Katie. And we were so shocked about that. But anyway, Bobby called it, but he would not call it the Dooky Mobile. He called it his vet. And he drove that for years. And then finally, they got their own car. They bought a car together. And the baby was young. It was a toddler. And one day, and they decided they were going to sell the Chevette because they just really couldn't afford to tag it. So they put it out in the yard with a for sale sign on it. And it sat there for months. And then finally, one day, Katie was really agonizing over whether she could afford to buy the medicine they needed for Sky's ear infection or food. And that was really her dilemma that day. So she just said a little prayer, help me make the right decision, And 30 minutes later, A neighbor from around the road pulled up into the driveway with $500 cash for the Dooky Mobile. And so she stood out in the driveway watching it pull away. It was still running just fine, knowing, that she could now buy both food and the medicine. And still, she was crying a little bit because, the car had just meant so much to us. And this would be the sweetest story if it's ended there, but it really didn't. Um, about a year later, those tornadoes hit down in Lady Lake, and Katie and Bobby were in this middle of their house listening to this, what sounded like a freight train going all the way around their house. And the next day, within a mile of their house on three sides was total devastation. So they got in their car and they drove around to just see, whose homes had been hit. And they come around the corner and there sits the Dooky Mobile in a patch of grass that had grown up around it. The house of the yard where the Dooky Mobile was damaged from the storm, but there was not a scratch on that car. And so they called us laughing to tell us about how this car survived the tornadoes. And Perry just when I got off the phone, Perry just quipped to me. He just said, Cass, I think that car's blessed. And I'm like, yeah, it probably was blessed, but more than that, it was a blessing. It was a blessing to us. And I think of that little car now, just tootling around the world like a little brown angel, helping families out. I like to think of it like that. But then I also think about the fact that how many women sort of wait for their knight in shining armor to come riding in on a white horse. And I just am so thankful that my knight in shining armor came riding in a car that was small and round and the color of dirt.